Malash, are we live? Can we start? Okay, great. Uh, Thank you so much, everyone, for logging into today's Agtech session. This is the first episode in what we believe will be a useful and interesting series of talk sessions we will be hosting here at Tech Mahindra around the exciting world of Agtech or technology in agriculture, so to say. And I'm extremely delighted to have Gustavo from BASF, who's here to kind of help us kickstart this whole initiative from Tech Mahindra. Uh, Gustavo, please, would love to have your quick introduction before we get into the session today. Welcome aboard. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ram. Hi, everyone joining the webinar today. It's a pleasure for me, and I'm honored to be invited by Tech Mahindra for this conversation and share what is BSF and our view towards agriculture. I'm sitting here in Singapore. I'm responsible for the BASF Agricultural Solutions business in Asia Pacific. And I will be sharing with you a little bit of, as I mentioned, our view on the how agriculture would undergo to a accelerated transformation. Yeah. Do we see already the slides from in the screen?
Let me just share my screen just a minute.
So maybe a few words. We will go through a short presentation and allow me to present a few slides. And I would love to hear the questions from the audience around some of the topics that we will be discussing today. I would say, Ram, you can stop me also anytime during the presentation that you want me to highlight a specific point. So let's have this as an informal conversation towards how do we see a future of agriculture. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
If we can go to the next slide. Just a very short overview. What is BSF? I mean, all the divisions we have in the company. So Agricultural Solutions is one out of the 6 segments or 11 business units of BSF. It's a big German conglomerate, mainly focusing on chemicals, with 150, almost nearly 155 years of history. Yeah. And farming, what we call in our division, is the biggest job on earth. And BSF is supporting farming for more than 100 years. For example, in 1913, BSF was a company through the Haber-Bosch process who developed the modern way to nitrogen fixation into agriculture. And since then, we have contributed significantly to the future or to the agricultural development around the globe. So if we can go to the next slide, please. A little bit, a few words on BSF Agricultural Solutions, so specific the division that I'm working for. We are present in more than 140 countries with our own teams. We have more than 12,500 employees working for this division with 7.6 billion euros sales in the year 2020. Our portfolio goes far beyond chemicals and agrochemicals and crop protection. We also have a vast, I would say, portfolio of biologicals, of seed solutions, seeds and traits. When I speak about seeds, I'm talking about canola seeds, soy, cotton, in the future, hybrid wheat seeds, and also we are present in the vegetable seed business. We also have a business that we are building and growing called digital farming, which I will go a little bit deeper today, but also products towards soil and plant health and professional and specialty solutions. So it's a vast range of products that we are offering around the globe. Yeah. So the next slide.
Curious, what would the professional solutions entail?
Yeah, this is basically, thanks, Ram. This is basically the non-crop portfolio. So this includes, for example, rodenticides or products, insecticides for malaria control. This is managed within our division by a separate group of colleagues.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Good. So, future of agriculture. I mean, only this slide, which is quite simple. We could spend a full hour here. Yeah. So, agriculture has developed significantly over the years. And thanks more advanced in seed genetics, in agrochemicals, in machineries. We are able today to produce enough food for a population around the globe, and affordable food. But if you really think about how the planet is evolving, the question that I think we have to ask ourselves: are we doing agriculture today in a sustainable way that the planet will continue to be produced food in the same way for the next 100 or 200 years? And I think here there is a lot of things that we understand needs to change, that I would also speak in the next slide. So for us, it's about finding the right balance for success for farm agricultures in future generations by finding what we call the right balance to a better yield. And what is this? We need higher yields. We need, again, to produce food on an affordable way, but the environmental impact for that food production, not only to soil, but also to environment, CO2 emissions, needs to improve. Agriculture is one of the number one sectors with CO2 emissions around the globe. Also, as I mentioned, we need to produce safe, accessible, and affordable food. For some of us, food might be affordable, but for many parts of the globe, not yet. And I think this is another aspect that we need to find the right balance, as we said. Also right defined balance in keeping biodiversity in agricultural regions, and also finding crops which are climate resilience, or agricultural practices that are climate resilience. Also, practices and products that are not only important and good for the crops, but also keeping farmers' health and well-being. And as I mentioned, we also need sustainability towards green gas emissions per ton of protein production. So how do we do that? We definitely need innovation to achieve this right balance for better yield, and a yield that is value for society, it's kind for the planet, and also help farmers to making a living. And if we look to UN Sustainable Development Goals, you're going to see many of the claims that I'm speaking here reflected into UN targets. Yeah. So if you can go to the next slide, Ron, please.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that as a crop protection business, you're talking so much about the balance. An average person on the ground will probably expect that all you would be concerned with would be selling more of your chemicals, but that's clearly not your focus and your agenda. It's very interesting. Thanks for bringing it out.
Yes, no, thank you. And we'll come back to that. And this is, of course, for a company that is a chemical company, this is a very difficult conversation to have. But we understand the importance of minimize as much as possible the use of chemicals in agriculture. Now, going one step above and saying, how can we do that? And I mentioned about the development of seeds, genetics and traits and agrochemicals, but there are several different technologies, or we can also say disruptive technologies, that will change agriculture will be in the future. Yeah, I think in many parts of Asia, at least, you walk in the development, you walk in agriculture areas, you're already seeing drones flying in doing either scouting or spraying. More and more the use of robotics, not only for the I would say from seedling to harvesting. Also, more and more farms to be equipped by, or farms to be equipped by sensors, and more artificial intelligence being present into the way farmer is being doing. And I always use this example, and sorry for those who already know me, but if one day we will look to our windows and we are going to see self-driven cars, which means cars that can go from place A to place B without any driver, why can't farmers or farms be more automatized than the way they are today? So for me, that's the analogy that we should try to understand, and also make an advantage towards sustainable agriculture. There is also novel ways of farming, for example, vertical and indoor farming, which is exceptional, intelligent way to produce for example, now more vegetables, much closer to the big cities. And I think one example, I'm here in Singapore, more than 50% of all vegetables we eat in Singapore are produced in Singapore, just around the corner here. So, and one thing about that, the post-harvest loss is 0%, which means that everything which produced comes to the supermarkets and the table of the consumers, which is
Are you serious? 0% post-harvest loss. That's like unheard of.
Yes, because the entire environment is controlled, temperature, diseases. You don't have the typical harvest loss because of again the full control of the variables here. So, and this is again, you might say yes, it's might be more expensive producing or building the structure of a vertical farming versus open field, but you see from transportation, warehousing, and you need to bring overseas how much you can save. So I'm sure this is, I mean, these technologies, in my view, will just get more and more popular around the world. Yeah. The next one is about carbon farming sequestration, and we can also discuss more about that in the Q&A round. But farming today is an economical activity that generates greenhouse gases. But agriculture could be also the solution to be not only carbon neutral, but to sequestrate CO2 from the air. And if one day in the future, and this is already happening, and if you read the news, there are already many initiatives happening that farmers can document the CO2 that they can capture. They might earn their income not only from the crops they sell, but the carbon they sequestrate. And this is it could be a completely game-changing in terms of future farmer looking forward. And of course, we will need to have systems to document all those CO2 sequestrated from the environment. And then going from also future food, there is also many other technologies. I mean, we speak about many years about GMO crops, but now we talk about also CRISP technologies that are also being used in terms of improving genetics of certain crops. And also, I think this would be also game-changing for protein production, which is all the different methods that we have to produce proteins, being meat or chicken. So this could also have a major transformation in which grains are produced to feed which animals, if in the future a considerably higher share of proteins can be produced into labs. And definitely, in terms of sustainability footprint, with a very promising, I would say, better balance than what we have today. So I want to say here, and maybe we move to the next slide. It's not that BASF is present in all these segments. Of course, we are present in certain segments only. But for me, when I look to that slide, I think, wow, a lot of things will change, and there will be in positive change toward agriculture. That I think it's a great opportunity for companies that are really strategic and looking ahead to participate on that.
So if you are a venture capitalist and you had to choose one place to place your bet on, which of these areas would you bet your money on?
It's very high. If I would be a venture capitalist, I would put up my money a little bit on everywhere.
Spray and pray is what most of these guys do anyways.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a segment that deserves investments. It's very difficult to say that's the technology. I think all of them will play a role. I also didn't say, but also blockchain, Ram. There will be, consumers more and more, when they go to the supermarket, they want to see where is my apple coming from, and not only based on label, but also based on track and trace barcode system. So I think more and more we will have also technologies to track from the farm to the shelves of supermarkets, and this is again another, I would say, technological advance that would also be part in the future of our industry.
Got it. Great.
Good. So the next slide, a little bit of what BASF is investing in R&D. We spend more than 900 million euros in R&D, so it's about the equivalent of 11% of our sales goes every year into R&D. We have 4 global R&D hubs, 26 regional R&D sites. We have more than 3,000 employees only doing R&D, nothing more than doing, and a little bit on all the segments that I I mentioned, but also on crop protection, seeds and traits as well. We have more than 200 seed production and seed breeding facilities, mainly on those crops that I mentioned before, and also more than 30 global projects in crop protection, seeds and traits, and digital revolutions, which we believe they are a very promising future. So innovation is key for sustainable agriculture, and I think this is a key area also of investment for BASF. And we sense it's our responsibility not only to run a business of today, but to deliver the innovations of tomorrow. So if
11% of sales on R&D sounds pretty high to me. How does it compare to your peers? Is this the industry average, or you're spending a lot more?
I would not like to mention the numbers of my peers, but of course I know them well from what is externally public. But it depends, Ram. Depends on which segment you are. I would just give an example. On seeds and traits, the share of investments are higher than in crop protection. But when you go to digitalization, digital farming, then I would say this is more an R&D activity than today an existing business. So the more you go to precision farming, I think the higher is the share on R&D. Yeah.
Got it. And of course, you can be sensitive about what you want to share. Please go on.
Good. So back to sustainability, because I think that's the core element on the future of agriculture. There are 4 areas that we are looking at as a BASF. One is about the development of climate smart farming, supporting farmers to be more carbon efficient and resilient to volatile weather conditions. Sustainable solutions, which is about developing, launching, and growing solutions that are more sustainable than what we have today in the market. And here you'll see very soon our commitment. Farming, which is a special chapter of today. I will go deeper later. And smart stewardship, which is we will strive for zero farming incidents whenever farmers are handling BASF products. So if we can go to the next slide, Ram, then you see the quantification of our commitments. We want, through our technologies, to help of at least 30% CO2 reduction per crop by 2030. We want to increase our sales of what we call the sustainable solutions portfolio by at least 7% every year. We want to cover more than 400 million hectares around the globe with digital farming technologies until 2030. And again, zero incidents in farming is something we strive. And I think all of that is how BASF is addressing and finding the right balance for success for farmers, to agricultures, and to the future generations as well.
Most certainly, you're at the front end of innovation and digitalization of the whole agri space. I wish you the best.
Thanks, Ram. Now, a little bit more information, because I know this is an area, and also aligning with Ram, which topics will be of interest of this group watching this webinar today. It's about digital farming, so I would be a little bit more precise in this area, but I would love to, again, having a dialogue and listening for questions in all aspects that I also mentioned before. So our Xavio is the branding of BASF into digital farming. So we call Xavio the BASF Digital Farming Solutions. And our mission is to improve and automate crop production. Xavio was founded in 2014. In that time, Xavio was part of Bayer Crop Science Group. 3 years ago, on a global transaction between BASF and Bayer, the Xavio Digital Farming Platform moved from Bayer to BASF. Is today 100% BASF own organization, headquartered in Cologne, Germany, but with offices and people already in more and more countries, sometimes offices, sometimes a few colleagues. And here you see a country: Argentina, Brazil, Canada, India, France, UK, Russia, Ukraine, and Japan. And from the world map here, you can see already that our presence around the globe is increasing. We want to develop and launch global digital products. We have more than 400 people today working in digital farming, and we have today more than 5 million farmers worldwide that has already used experimented some of our digital farming solutions. Yeah. So if we can go to the next slide, I would say today basically three main products. And let me just adjust my camera here. Right. One of them is Savio Scouting, Savio Field Manager, and the third one is Healthy Fields. And I would have specific slides to talk about the three of them. The first one is Scouting, is more to identify weeds, pests, disease with your phone. The second one is more the precision farming system we call Savio Field Manager, with field zone specific improvements and automation of crop production and farm management. And the third one, it's about selling the outcomes here, and I would speak about it, Healthy Fields. We are not giving recommendations to farmers. We are taking full responsibility of farmers' outcomes ourselves. So it's an ecosystem of products, and I would say the fit to Xavio to better yield, as you saw before. I hope you see that it's 100%. So if we can go to the next slide, a few words about Xavio Scouting. And we call it the broadest automatized problem identification app in the market. It's a free of charge app in a product that enables farmers with 6 different components relevant through the entire season. We have today more than 50 crops that Savio Scouting is present in identification of problems in the field. So what are those 6 components? It's the weed identification. You take a photo of a weed. The app will tell you which weed is that and what are the herbicides that would work for that weed. We have an insect monitoring through Yellow Trap. So it can count how many insects, and it basically measure the insect infestation and also identify the insect and give you the recommendation. We have also disease recognition application, and pest damage, leaf damage. So it's a one functionality that tell you how much of your average of your leaves has already been damaged, and it's a good way also to benchmark and see the level of deterioration of your field. Emergence analysis to access the initial growing performance after sowing, analyze the number of plants that have emerged from the field, and also functionality in nitrogen status to measure nitrogen uptake as additional input factors to also optimize nutrient management in your crop. Not all functionalities is present in all the countries, in all the crops. This is an evolving investment, but I would say significantly progress being made over the years. Also in terms of recommending the best solutions for that farmers in that countries, and of course the system has to be fully connected to the regulatory environment of crop protection in that countries. But also very interesting in Savio Scouting, you have a radar and notification system. Radar is when you are use of scouting, you can see what is happening around your field in all the crops, so you can see if farmers around you are having the same problems as you have. And it also comes with a notification system, so you can receive later on saying a certain disease has been identified 50 kilometers from you, so be alert that this can come to your farm as well. So it's a very intelligent system, and again, free of charge for farmers. Even in India, we have now launched a system that you can send your picture via WhatsApp, and we would return back to you with the functionalities that you desire here.
Yeah, getting information in advance is always good. But I'm going to just stop for a minute. Seems we've got some questions. Let me just pick it up, and then we can go back to the presentation.
Sure.
So there's a question from Mao. Is literacy rate of farmers a limiting factor in absorbing these modern farming techniques? And given the fact that you're operating in places like India and Argentina and other, not so developed markets, what's your view on that?
Yeah, no, this is an excellent question, and yes, it does play an impact. Farms in maybe US, Brazil, or other parts of the world, the farms are managed. Acreage is much bigger, and farmers are big enterprises, yeah, and there the level of I would say the details and the functionalities you can implement can be very sophisticated. I think simplicity and good simplicity in the usability of the tools is important when we deal with smallholder farmers, and this is something that we are trying also to evolve over time. Yes, to compensate that. But I would say it's not because the illiteracy level is high that it doesn't mean that technology cannot be used in their favor. But I think the functionalities we need and the way you at least demonstrate the details of the solution, it should be different, right? So the answer is as much as we move forward, smallholder farmers and big farm enterprise will have a different, at least the front end will look like differently. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, let me go back to the presentation.
Thank you, but thanks for the question. A good one. So the next one, Field Manager, I said, this is the typical precision farming system. What we say is the best-in-class agronomic recommendation system, combining key elements on digital transparent targets, sustainable and field zone-specific crop production throughout the season. It goes from seedling to harvest, as I'm going to show in a next slide. I mean, some of the key functionalities is spray timer, so you can optimize the time of your crop protection application, precision maps, so you can have your field spread by field zones and have specifically available application maps for the different field zones in crop protection, seedling, and nutrition as well. In field analytics, you can have a vast range of analytics, documenting and analyzing later your outcome throughout the calendar year. Also monitoring using biomass maps and multi-year power zone maps. Yeah. We say it's a best-in-class farm management system today as well. All crops offers to record and managing farm activities for a wide range of crops. You also have the possibility of field nodes and also fully connected, of course, with Xavier Scouting. Whatever you do with Scouting is very well documented within Field Manager. And also you have a vast list of reporting. So it's an excellent way also to document and record your farming practices for the next years as well. We also say it's easy to connect and share. And also you have what we say farm Savio connected, that you can transfer all the maps and the data between your field manager all the time.
Can I pause you for a minute? There seems to be some issue on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn stream has stopped. So just give me a moment to try to see where exactly.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Gustavo.
No problem. I have to say there is not one week that you don't have always some issues with your internet or connectivity and so on. But we are by now very, very used to.
Can we take some questions in the meantime, Malar, or is audio also stuck?
Okay, you're live again now. You can continue.
Okay, all right. Let's go back to the slides then.
So I hope that you could follow my Savio Field Manager explanation. If not, I think this slide again comes back to many elements which I mentioned. That it's a solution from seedling to harvest, optimizing every step of the calendar year, and you can see here the vast number of functionalities. And of course, this has not been launched in the way it is today. It's an evolving system with more functionalities, also through more partnerships, and this will certainly evolve over time as we learn, as we grow. And also,
just out of curiosity, are all these solutions applicable to all kinds of crops, or is it like, more applicable, let's say, in tomatoes or grapes or palms? Just curious.
Yeah, I think, Ram, we are evolving. I think that in each country we are launching Field Manager in specific crops. I would say field crops have been so far more the focus, but over time more and more crops will be added. So I would just say, through our Savio homepage, you can see, you can have more details on which country and which crop Field Manager is already launched. But I can speak for Asia. We are working very hard to bring Field Manager to rice. We have already launched Field Manager in rice in Japan through a partnership with Zeno. So it's already launched, and we already have farmers paying the fees and being Savio users. And we are in a process of launch in other countries as well. I will not say which countries and when, but it's in the pipeline to launch. So this is the rice, which of course is a key crop for Asia Pacific. So it will, it will come more crops as we move to different countries as well.
Very interesting. As I was actually about to ask, because in your previous slide you mentioned that a lot of this is free for use, but you've already started monetizing in some pockets.
Yes.
That's quite interesting.
We basically think that scouting is not a one digital product that we will monetize by charging, but Field Manager, it is a system that it is being charged. At least in many of the countries, it has a fee. Yes, and why? I mean that the next slide, Ram, if you can move to slide. Yeah. I mean, the next one. That's one practical example of 3 seasons that we have run into wheat in Germany, France, Poland, Ukraine, UK, and Belgium. And you can see here that within all the trials that we have done and the farm we have used Field Manager, we could achieve a gross margin gain of 32 euros per hectare of wheat produced, with 30% less fungicides. Yeah? And here, when you say also, Ram, how do you, as a chemical company, we understand, and again, and this is one product that you can literally drive a lower consumption of chemicals. Yeah, this is using the functionality what you call optimize fungicide application timing, and you also have some other numbers on extreme drought. And then you have a second possibility, which is the so-called variable rate application, which is you let the system to recommend also more fungicides if this will bring you more economic advantage. So in this functionality, you can earn more per hectare, but you invest more in fungicides. But the net, so the reduction in fungicides is lower, but the net income to the farmer is higher. And I think here is also a good example. In this case, we could, through that recommendation, also improve yield by 1.7%. I think as we move forward, I would say I'm very confident that the economical benefit of Field Manager will increase over time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then the next.
You want me to go to the previous slide or the next slide?
No, the next one. I think we can go to the next one, which talks about healthy fields, which I would say is then the next evolution from Field Manager. The backbone, the back end is the same. But here, as you said, we are going to, we want to move also towards a business to guaranteeing outcome. And with that, we're basically saying, look, if you take and you follow all Savio recommendations, that's the outcome, and BASF would take responsibility for that. for the farmer. So it's on top, you're also selling also an insurance of income to the farm as well. So this could also save time in applications for the farmer, automation and economic of scale and variable applications management that we use as much as we think we are, taking again responsibility to the outcome for the farmers. I think all in all, it's a very revolutionary that we are in a, I would say, in a pilot phase with already some live, some pilot countries, pilot crops. But we understand that's one of the areas that we are also moving with our digital farming solutions. Now, we are not going to say, farmer, you have to choose or you have to take Healthy Fields or Field Manager. The idea is to give all the options, and the farmers are free to choose what they find is best for them. Yeah? Then the next slide, it's also a very interesting new technology. And again, this is a good combination of machinery expertise and digital farming and agronomic expertise from BASF Savio. So we have developed a joint venture between Savio and Bosch called Bosch BASF Smart Farming GmbH. And I think the idea here is to develop and commercialize what we call the smart sprayer. And this will be a combination of a sprayer that automatically identify the weeds and apply the herbicide specific to the weed being seen in the field in that point in time. With that, we believe that we can save up to 70% of herbicides use. And of course, in a very, I would say, smart way. And I hope when you also, again, and sorry to be repetitive, when you say finding the right balance, I think this is also a brilliant example of how technology and innovation can bring a benefit to agriculture. So I think the beauty of also this venture is the share of resources, knowledge, and experience between BASF and Bosch, also enabling a faster product development and market entry. So we are in the process of already being launched and to introduce in Europe, in North America, already in the coming years. And these will be introduced through machinery companies. So it's not that we will sell the entire sprayer machinery companies will buy this technology, and they will be the one offering that to the farmer. So it's not going to be a solution offer directly from BASF to the farmer here. Yeah? And I think now, maybe just to conclude that presentation and open for Q&A, just say, we always use this quote in BASF and saying the future doesn't just happen, we all create it. And I think here, again, we as a company highly dedicated to R&D, we are strongly committed to sustainability, to R&D. And we see a very exciting and a very dynamic future of agriculture, as you could see from that slide in front of us. So thanks for your attention, and I would now open up for more questions towards the topics we discussed today.
Great. Thank you so much. And it was a great way to end. We are creating the future. That message is beautiful. I have a lot of questions on the page. I'm just going to kind of scroll through and see which of these you can quickly address. There was a question on cell cultured meat. Basically, how safe is it, and is it still in R&D, or is it at a stage where you can confidently say that let's go ahead and invest more on this?
Yeah, I'm not the best person to answer this question, but I can just say, as many developed countries authorize commercialization, I have full trust on the regulatory system on these countries to prove the safe of this technology. That's maybe all I can say about this.
Fair enough. There was another question on carbon. You did mention that the farmers could make significant amount of money on top of their crop produce. How much of this is hype versus reality? What is the real progress? Where do you think there is kind of meaningful progress happening? Let me put it that way.
Yeah. So the carbon trade market already exists for some time, but it has been always difficult to document carbon sequestration in agriculture, creating the credits for trading in those markets. But as we see the need of carbon neutrality, and most of countries' organizations are committing to full neutrality to happen latest by 2050, we understand that the companies that were not able to meet those requirements will need to pay a price for this through those carbon trade markets, and that could increase significantly the value of that. Now, how much that is the future? I just think society, governments, all of us, I think to conserve the planet that we live today, we have the highest interest to use, if agriculture can serve also for carbon sequestration, we have all the highest. So I don't know if in 10 or 20 years from now, governments might be paying for farmers to just do that, because that's what will bring the sustainability to the countries. So I think it's a highly dynamic topic, and it will evolve and it will have its space, I would say, in the future. It's just very difficult to say exactly how it will work in 10 years from now, but I think that today the key aspect that every company interested in this area is learning is how can you do the proper, simple documentation of carbon credits that can have a value on those markets in the future.
Got it. Okay, it was good to see the progress you've made and the amount of investments you are dedicating towards overall sustainability and digital farming. Having been in the Agtech space, I clearly understand every single use case in every single market is bound to have a lot of challenges and bottlenecks and impediments before you reach a success story. Would love to hear one or two of the challenges which you faced before you got the success.
Yeah. No, look, in R&D, and everybody in this call who is in R&D knows that for one great idea, you need thousands of initiatives and great ideas. And not all great idea will come to the market. Not all idea that comes to the market will be financially attractive. So I think what is important, companies like Tech Mahindra and BASF to keep believing on the importance of innovation, of technology, and fulfilling our corporate missions, and everyone else from different companies also joining today in really trying to make our contribution for the future. That's what I think I can say, but I don't know if I really answer your question, Ron. But
I was just curious, was there any one specific subject or one specific market or one specific commodity where you tried and you really failed in the first attempt, but second and third attempt kind of gave you success? But if you don't have that off the top of your head, that's fine.
I have so many that I don't know where to start. There are many projects every day that fails, and it's okay. As soon as you have a working R&D pipeline that keep moving despite some of the projects doesn't make it to success. But yes, I mean, it can be crop protection, can be in seeds, can be in digital farming. By the way, I think digital farming, no company today is making profit from digital farming today. Today, it's an area of R&D investment. It still needs to be proven. So I would say I'm proud to work for BASF. I'm proud to show where we are, but still there is a lot of things to go to say that that's what you see. It's going to be the future. I think this is just things that we are introducing today. Yeah.
Sure. And I understand your focus is Asia Pacific, and there are others kind of involved in the rest of the world. Do you see any regional difference in terms of the farmer adoption, or in terms of just feasibility of rolling out some of these technologies? Some areas have large farms, some areas have small farms, some areas the weather conditions are just more amenable to some technology innovations. Any region specific themes which stand out in your mind?
Yeah, huge differences. I would just say Europe, regulatory environment extremely more strict. I would say accelerating a lot of chemical products phase out, and also development of biological solutions in crop protection and digital farming as well, under the umbrella of Green View. So I think Europe, things are moving very fast towards regulatory, and not only regulatory environment, societal pressure. I think Asia, we are still, I think there is a lot in the agenda on self-sufficiency in terms of food. I think the topic of smallholder farming is very unique. No other regions we will have so many farmers as we will have in Asia, for example, with more than 500 million farmers. Now, when you go to the Americas, you have these mega farms, as I have mentioned before, with much more focus on the soy, corn, cotton, I would say crop systems. So the huge differences in how agriculture is run around the globe. And the similarity, I mean, when you remember back that slide when I said about the best yield and how to find the right balance, I think that's the commonality among all the four regions. But I think the way farm is doing is definitely different.
All right, fantastic. I think there's just too many questions out there, but I'm cognizant of time. Thank you so much, Gustavo. This was a very, very useful and enlightening session. I think the audience has learned a lot about where agriculture is moving, and it's really exciting to know all the things which BASF is putting on the ground. I wish you and your team all the success, and I look forward to more interactions with you. And let's create the future, as you said, which we are duty bound to create. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and I really hope also you take care, stay safe, especially now in times of COVID. We might be in a false situation that now things are getting back to normal, but it's still, I would just say, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and I hope you all the best. Thanks for inviting me, and see you anytime soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.